Welcome back, everybody. Ryan the Vintage Viking and my beautiful daughter, Sage. Did you remind me in case I forgot your name?
Mm-hmm.
It's Sage. We are going to do a book review of the book Cinder. 2 different covers so you can see just in case. Right there. And Sage read through this book, and then we both listened to the audio book together, and so I followed along with her, and we spent some time going through it, and it was really good. And so I wanted to hear Sage's thoughts on it, as well as give people a chance to have some insight into it and be able to learn for themselves whether they'd like to read it or not. So let's go ahead and get to the questions. All right, so I have a couple questions. I'm going to ask Sage, and she's going to go ahead and answer them. So, okay, we'll do that. All right. So tell me what basically is Cinder about? What is the book Cinder about?
So Cinder is the main character. She's a cyborg. Mm-hmm. And
what is a cyborg?
A cyborg is like a half human, half robot who can function, like you can move your robotic part. So It's not like you have a prosthetic where you can't really move it other than she can bend her knees and her toes and hand fingers.
Okay. So not a robot, not an android.
No.
Okay. So go on. So Cinder is a cyborg.
And she has a very hard life. It's kind of based off of Cinderella. So she's got 2 stepsisters and a stepmother, and her stepfather died from letmosis, which is a disease that they have that basically there's no cure for it, and it'll basically kill you within a few days.
3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why is her life hard?
Because people treat cyborgs differently. Because basically they think that they should have died already, and someone has saved them. So they think everyone treats her differently because she's a cyborg and treats her worse than everyone else. And her stepsisters and stepmother do not like her at all and treat her like a slave. Okay.
What does Cinder do?
She's a mechanic, and everyone says that she's the best mechanic, and some of them don't know why, because she doesn't want to tell people that she's a cyborg and get treated differently. So some of them wonder how this teenage girl is this good at, what's the word?
Being able to repair things?
Building mechanisms.
Okay. Repairing or building mechanical things. Yeah. Okay. So not everybody knows that she's a cyborg, and she is a teenager. She's 16 or 17, right? Okay. And so what is kind of the major problem that arises in the book? Maybe, I think there's kind of a couple.
Yeah. So first it's kind of she's a cyborg. And then, and her family hates her, except for her one stepsister, which is her best, that's her only human friend. And so...
And what was her name? Do you remember?
Peony.
Peony, okay.
And they go to the junkyard, and she catches letmosis. Earlier in the time, she was at her place. What's it called? Shop. And
in the market?
Yeah, and one of the other vendors there caught letmosis. So she thinks she was carrying it, but they took a test, and she didn't have letmosis at all. So they don't know really how Peony got it.
Okay.
So that's another problem. And then the prince. The prince doesn't know she's a cyborg either, and they're kind of
Well, has she met the prince?
Yes. She met the prince at her shop going to repair his android.
Okay, so he brought the android to the shop?
Yes. And he was in disguise.
Okay, so he was incognito out in public.
Incognito.
The word for the day, incognito. Incognito. It is a incognito word. Dad jokes. Okay. So she has met the prince,
Yeah.
and the prince doesn't know she's a cyborg.
No.
Uh-huh.
But they're kind of like, it kind of seems like, he likes her in a way because he wants her to go to the ball with him, but she doesn't want to go because of her cyborg limbs and that she wants to run away. She found a car in the junkyard and has been repairing it and is thinking about running away on the ball night because her family will be at the ball.
So that's a good time for her to escape. Okay.
Yes.
So where is this setting? Where is this all
Beijing.
taking place? New Beijing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, another problem is the lunars.
Okay. And what's a lunar?
A lunar is, I guess they're like aliens, right? Because they're not humans.
But they look like humans.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
but where do they live?
On the moon.
On the moon.
That's why it's called lunars.
A lunar. Okay.
And the queen is known for being like really, really evil. Like she killed her husband, her sister, and her niece, trying to be the only one. Well, supposedly, everyone thinks she did. Trying to be the only heir to the throne.
So she doesn't want someone to take her place.
No, she wants to be in complete
keeping
power.
her space. Okay.
So they're trying to form an alliance with her so she doesn't attack on Earth because she's made threats before about that and wanting to control like the whole area.
So overall, how was the book? Was it good? Was there some strengths or some weaknesses in the book that you liked or didn't like?
I just really like the book in general. By the end, the last few chapters, I was trying to figure out how the author was going to fit it all into like 2 chapters. I know that there is other books because it's the Lunar Chronicles, but it was like...
And there's like maybe 6 books or something like that,
There's 6,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so next book is...
Scarlet.
Okay. So it's kind of loosely tied into the Cinderella story because she has... stepmother, stepsisters. And there's a ball.
And the dad died.
Is the rest of the story really Cinderella-y?
No,
it's very different, right?
Yeah.
So it's very loosely based on Cinderella.
And she's called Cinder.
Called Cinder, but not Cinderella. So what made this very science fiction? Because it's a pretty good science fiction story.
Yeah.
What about it was science fiction-y and not fairy tale?
Well, there's like lunars and
so like another people group that live in outer space,
and they can trick people. They use their glamour. You said it's the same thing that vampires have.
Yeah, so unfortunately I learned that in watching Twilight.
Unfortunately.
No, I mean I've seen it in other movies. Vampires have glamour or the ability to like manipulate emotions, kind of thing. But in Cinder, it's different. They don't just manipulate emotions.
They can manipulate, like their eyesight, how they
Visual.
appear to other people, and they can manipulate. Like they can say that. I lost my train of thought.
Like they can manipulate them. They can
tell
manipulate
them
their
to
visuals.
do something. Like they can be like
mind control almost.
Yeah, like you're going to marry me, and then they'll get down and propose.
Because they're very they can manipulate their will to do things. Like there's some points where the person is like almost going to kill themselves because they're manipulating them to do it.
Sometimes they can tell, like they won't manipulate their mind, they'll just make them do things. So sometimes they can tell and they're like pleading.
Yeah, and they're begging them to stop, kind of thing. Okay, so what else makes this science fiction? So there's people that live on the moon, outer space, they have mind control things. What other things are science fiction? Things that maybe are futuristic that we don't have now?
The cars.
The
hovers.
So they're like hovercrafts?
Yeah, they're like floating.
They don't have gas-powered cars that are, stuck to the ground.
And I think the fact that she's a cyborg is like science fiction.
Kind of science fiction, yeah, right. We don't have. I mean, we're getting there where people can have limbs that they can kind of move.
Yeah.
And are attached to nervous systems, and they can move around now. But this is full function. Like she has a chip,
she can like tell when people are lying because of this thing in her brain.
So it's like a sensor that tells when somebody's lying. Mm-hmm.
And it works on the glamour.
Mm-hmm. So it shows that they're lying. How did this book make you feel? What emotions did this draw out?
Sadness.
Sadness all the time. It was just a sad book, and like
no, just near the end. Like I'm not a big reader right now. I want to be, but I'm not quite there yet. But like it was making me want to read more.
So it made you feel something like to where you want to keep going.
Yeah.
So you kept you wanted to keep reading, but sometimes there was some sadness. Was there some funny parts?
Yeah.
Was it humorous parts?
A couple.
Was it light? Did it feel like enjoyable, just lighthearted as you went through it?
Yeah.
Is the main character
sarcastic?
There you go. I was going to ask, does she have certain qualities? So she's sarcastic. Okay, so that can be pretty funny sometimes, right? Was there characters you didn't like?
Yes. The stepmother Audrey and the stepsister Pearl. Not Peony.
Peony's different. Okay.
And the queen, obviously.
The lunar queen.
What's her name? Lavana.
So did you not like them because they weren't written well, or did you not like them because they were written
like too well
to be not likable?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So the author did a good job.
Yes.
Did it seem like the author's writing was intelligent or like thought out and really
they had
presented very well?
She had a lot of like great nouns in there, like
nouns
or not nouns,
adjectives,
yes, to like describe how the book is going and or how describing the nouns.
Are there any certain parts of it that stood out to you? Any certain parts of the book?
He threaded his eyebrows. That was one. I'm sorry, I was thinking
we were talking about that. He threaded his eyebrows together. We had to look that one up. Was there any particular parts that stood out to you that you enjoyed? Parts that stood out to you that maybe you didn't enjoy?
Well, obviously the sad parts. Like when Peony died, that was like, and that was really like, trying to think of a better word for sad. Heart-wrenching. And when the chapter after that, when she had to go home to see Audrey
which is her
stepmother, and she started calling her like saying you're not a human, you don't have emotions, try and cry for your little sister that just died, like you're worthless, you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be alive.
Treated her like as if she was nothing,
like dirt.
Do you think that the author had in mind to write about certain things that go on in everyday life? Did some things parallel to things that happen in everyday life?
Yeah. Like how she would have to go to work and do jobs.
There's that. What about other bigger themes like maybe people being treated like they're nothing, or
yes,
people having to deal with actual loss, like losing a close friend or something like that? There's a lot of parallels, right, to everyday life, huh? So I think that was very good writing when it comes to that. Do you like the book's cover design?
Yes.
Which one do you like better?
I think this one's really, really cool. Like I like how you can see her metal limb in there. But I think this one's cool because it gives you a visual of what she like looks like. You can like, because it describes her in the book, but you don't. Usually, you just like imagine these like how they. And if you're
kind of going off like the basic Cinderella story from like Disney, you would think like blonde hair,
blue eyes,
blue-eyed white girl that's lives in a tower or something, right?
tower.
I don't know, not a tower.
That's Rapunzel.
Sorry. That lives in a house where she's cleaning all the time, right? But Cinder is different. She's from New Beijing, so she has Asian descent. There's 2 different covers. There's Scarlet. If you see here, there's Scarlet, Cress, Winter, Stars Above, and Fairest. That's the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
The author is Marissa Meyers. And
I like how these books just they don't crease here.
yeah, the back spine doesn't really crease at all. Yeah.
I was like, because I was holding it like this, right?
Yeah,
and it's
they're
not
nice. They're nicely made. They're not cheap for sure.
Who's your favorite character?
I think Cinder.
Really?
Yeah, because she's sarcastic and she's kind of funny and just a smart aleck,
Yes.
a little snippy, you know. And it's I like that kind of stuff. It's enjoyable. I like Kai though too, the prince.
That's what I was gonna say. I like Cinder, but I like Kai because he's like the way. Remember when Audrey was like going to hit Cinder and he like grabbed her and was like, he's like he's very protective.
He's very protective. He like honor and respect is very important to him. He wants to lead the people well.
Yes.
You know, at one point he said, "What if there was a cure, but it cost you everything? Or like, what would you do? You know, like I'd have to give up everything."
Even having to give up Cinder without knowing, like before he knew that she was like a lunar and a cyborg, he was going to give her up, even though like he left her for his kingdom.
Yeah, he was willing to give up everything to protect the people and to save lives and things like that. So very honorable. Very honorable. It's very good.
I also like
Aiko.
Aiko
is a android friend of Cinder that's like kind of a shop robot that helps her, and
because she has a different personality chip.
Yep.
And so it's like she has she thinks differently than other androids. Like
so they have like personality chips. They're programmed certain ways. Certain other things they could do is like download information straight to their head, and you know, there's lots of science fiction aspects to it that are actually really cool. So there is a couple little like slightly gory parts in it too, like when she's talking about cutting this and cutting her arm open, and it actually goes through to describe it. It's like in the sinew and the blood and the muscles.
When she was cutting out like, Peenie's chip, that was like gross to me.
There's some little bit of graphicness to it.
I cut the flesh skin and peeled it back with my thumb, and the like bright red
like muscle tissue.
And, I was like, oh.
So there was some actual little bit of description to it that I was kind of surprised, like, whoa, some little kids might be grossed out by that, but it wasn't too bad. So
seeing that stuff doesn't gross me out, but like hearing it, like
if there was sound effect
the muscle tissue with my thumb. I was like,
pretty gross. So would you recommend this to somebody to read? Would you recommend it to, what about, you know, old farts like me that like to read sci-fi? Do you think someone that is a sci-fi reader would like it?
Yeah.
Do you think someone who is a romance reader would like it?
Yes. Mom liked it, and she doesn't like sci-fi. So.
Yes, that's true. But she was kind of in and out listening to it.
Yeah, she fell asleep for like
I think that's it. So overall, how did you feel?
I thought it was well written. It's like, it was very fun and entertaining, and it like draws you in. And some of the chapters won't it'll leave off on a cliffhanger and then go to a different part of the book, and you're like just wanting to figure out what happens in the last chapter, and it won't tell you until
so it makes you want to keep reading. So that the pace of the book was really well done. So it kept moving along without being like slow, really slow, and then something happening, and then really slow again. Okay, cool. So are you excited to read the next one?
Yes.
All right.
I have all of them, so
Yep, we
very
found them
excited.
all. So that's it. Cinder. We both really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun reading it together and going through it together. And when we're done with the next one, we'll maybe do another review. So thanks for watching. Thank you for answering, and catch you guys on the next one.